and how you kind of act dependent on her a lot. So this is making salient a discrepancy. You're falling short of your ideal self. Does this feel good? No, it sucks, okay? So that's what the theory argues. It sucks, okay, to be falling short of these ideal and ought selves. These are self-standards, these standards we hope to reach, but it sucks affectively in distinct ways, okay? And that's what the theory has shown for over 2 decades. The theory argues, I'm going to give you a chance to write this all down. Let me remove this. That when you think about how you're falling short of who you hope to be someday, you dream to be someday. I dream to be half the mom my mom is. But man, what I just did is really not what my mom is like. Okay, this makes me feel dejection, okay, shame, disappointment. It's depressive-related affect. That's a different kind of affect than the affect you might feel when you're thinking about, man, you know, my parents really think I ought to be a doctor. It's not my dream, but I feel a sense of obligation and duty to go pre-med. And man, I just got a D on my organic chemistry test. I am falling quite short of this ought self. Rather than feeling a sense of dejection, the kinds of emotions the theory suggests and shows that we feel instead are more agitation-related emotions. Okay, anxiety, guilt, those really fun emotions. Okay, but it's negative flavor, as it is in the case of actual ideal discrepancies, but it's a different kind of flavor. It's chocolate instead of vanilla. Okay, negative emotions, but different kinds of flavor. And we're going to come back to these differences and how they relate to something else called self-regulation in a lecture or two. But keep this in mind for now. Okay, what I want to ask you now is to give me. I'm going to keep writing for a second. Can some of you guys give me an example of situations? So in studies looking at this theory, they will bring to mind crime, make accessible, you know, confront you with information that brings to mind how you're discrepant. Your actual self is discrepant from an ideal self you have and an ought self that you have, and then they measure your emotional reactions. But in everyday life, the theory is only important insofar as this kind of discrepancy might come to our minds in the course of our everyday lives. What are some examples of situations where a discrepancy, you falling short of your ideal or ought standards, might become salient? Yeah, okay. I mean, who hasn't been in this particular situation? Okay, you say you have this ideal self of being healthy or an ideal weight that you want to be, and you just scarfed down and gave in to temptation and ate that chocolate molten cake with the ice cream on top. Okay, but who's counting? Yeah, that is a situation that is likely to make you feel a set of emotions associated with dejection, associated with falling short of your ideal self. If the same person felt like their trainer or their significant other, their mom's like, you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight. It's a duty or obligation. It's an ought self. It's a different set of emotions. You eat it, you feel anxious, you feel guilty, you know, you're agitated. But it's a different kind of affect according to the theory. Question? No, okay. Another example, everyday kind of circumstance where an ought or ideal self discrepancy might come to mind. Yeah, okay, you consider yourself to be a considerate person and a considerate roommate, and then your roommate texts you in the middle of the day and says, you forgot to do the dishes, don't forget to do that, and you're like, okay? And if it's your ideal self, you feel like that's who you want to be, okay, this considerate person, that makes you feel bad, okay? Totally get that situation. Another example, ideal or ought self. Actual ideal or actual ought discrepancy, another everyday kind of circumstance.
Yeah, like when we get our midterm test grade back.
Yeah.
If you think we're a student and we got a B or a C.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, whether it's an ought or ideal, it's going to feel bad, okay, if you're falling short of these hypothetical selves that you're striving for. Okay, these ideal and ought selves, they're like the selves that you're striving for, okay? They're standards that you're seeking to meet. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 more examples. You know, and this is a situation that I think many of us have found ourselves in. I think most of us, our ideal self is to be egalitarian, non-prejudiced, non-sexist, and so forth. And we may find ourselves, you know, just sort of laughing and chuckling at some joke on TV, on late night TV, some sexist kind of joke, and sort of catching ourselves, and that can feel kind of bad. You know, I had this ideal self of being egalitarian, not sexist, and here I am. I just found that kind of funny and laughed. You know, it's like I betrayed women or something like that. It's a bit extreme, but I mean, we've all been in that kind of situation, or a situation where maybe somebody made a sexist remark and you chose not to say anything. Call them on it. Okay, that doesn't feel so good either, because you're failing to meet a standard associated with your ideal self. Okay, what about like environmental things? I mean, to me, that's like such a rich source of pain. Okay, you know, like you see all these things, like, you know, the environment, we're screwed. You know, our children are going to have nothing, they're going to have no water, no green grass, and so forth. And you're driving your SUV. You know, it's just really, it's painful. Okay, because you believe in the environment, you believe in keeping nature beautiful, so on and so forth, and being reminded, or hey, you drive an SUV, saying that to you can really make you feel this kind of discrepancy and suffer the negative consequences, emotional consequences. Is this not working? Is it working? Okay, but not well, because that's not ideal for the audio thing. So I hope you guys are listening well today. I'm not sure the audio is going to be that good today. Okay, enough on that. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Again, we will come back to that theory in a lecture or two. Okay, in the last 13 minutes, I'm going to shift to talking about one other area of the self before next lecture, where we're going to dive into really focusing on motivational aspects of the self. But one last topic, which is not amotivational, and that's presenting the self. And what I mean by there is this topic of self-presentation. What I mean by there is the things that we do to try to control how other people see us. And I'm not going to go into this too much because it's very straightforward. It's really interesting because we all do it. But your GSIs will go into it a little bit more in section, particular kinds of strategies. But I just want you to think for a second to appreciate how prevalent self-presentation is. It kind of sounds icky. You don't want to admit maybe that you engage in self-presentation, that you're sitting there trying to make a good impression on other people, or not even a good impression necessarily, just an impression, whatever it is. But so many choices that you make, the non-verbal behaviors you engage in, the clothes you decide to wear today, the bumper stickers you have on your car or chose not to have on your car, the particular t-shirts with the particular logos you're willing to wear, the jean style that you're willing to wear, the shoes, whatever, the hairstyle, the glasses, whatever, all these things that are publicly visible, those are all choices you've made, consciously or not, to convey a certain impression of yourself. So it is not necessarily this strategic, Machiavellian thing, self-presentation. It's something that we all do. It's part of everyday social life, self-presentation. People can do it in more extreme ways than others, and it can backfire if you do that, if it becomes utterly over the top. But we all engage in self-presentation. It's not something that only happens when you're on a first date, that only happens when you're interviewing for a job. Self-presentation is happening all the time. It's something we engage in, and others are engaging in with us. Another term you might see, I don't know which one the textbook uses, but if you're interested in this topic, it's also called impression management, which also to me has that sort of negative connotation, but it's again, really a common, normal kind of social behavior, set of behaviors that we all engage in. Okay, what I just wanted to talk about here in class for a little bit, because I don't think it goes that much into depth in the textbook, is that a lot of social psychology work on self-presentation was started or inspired by the work of a sociologist that many of you may have heard of in other classes, Irving Goffman. Okay, and what Irving Goffman gave us, he didn't give us, t-tests and conditions and experiments and causal relationships. Okay, that's not what he gave us. He gave us a metaphor to understand social life, to understand how it is we are self-presenting in everyday life, and it is a rich metaphor. It's like one of those richest metaphors. You're like, brilliant. This guy's brilliant. Okay, and these ideas is what social psychologists who actually did research took and ran with and did studies on. But the metaphor that I want to tell you about has to do with thinking about everyday social interaction in terms of the theater. Okay, it's a dramaturgical perspective, which is a ridiculous word. So it's like a theater metaphor, thinking about interacting in everyday life as being a part of the theater, being on a stage. There's being on the front of the stage and how you act, and there's how you act when you're not on stage, backstage. Okay, all different facets, and I'm going to elaborate on it a little bit just to give you a flavor of what this perspective is all about. So his argument broadly was that much of social interaction can be thought of as a play with actors, people, us, performances. That social interaction can be thought of as a certain kind of performance, settings, the context, props, okay, roles that we play, and that we're supposed to play, and that people feel very uncomfortable if we don't play. Okay, I'm gonna let you write that 1 second. So to flesh out this metaphor a little bit, let's look at this notion of actors, performances, props, and so forth, and really give you a flavor of how this is our everyday life. Okay, just like in a play, there are roles in everyday life. In a Shakespeare play, there's Romeo, there's Juliet, there's particular roles that you play. There's the messenger role or what have you, all different kinds of roles. We have certain roles that we're playing as well. They change according to the context, but I have a certain role here on campus, and so do you. And there's certain requirements that are associated with that role, and we try to live up to those roles. We practice those roles. We learn what it means to be a student. Oh, you're supposed to act this way. Early on, you learn the different requirements of your role, just as I did to be a faculty member. Oh, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to know that. We dress up in particular costumes. Okay, in line with our roles and the images that are supposed to be portrayed in these roles. Okay, so what would be an example of this? When you go on an interview, you probably don't wear your cutoff jeans and your high tops. Okay, you dress up in a particular costume that fits the role of a really eager and competent job applicant. Okay, that role has a particular costume associated with it. Okay, not wearing that costume is probably not going to go over very well. Okay, so just like actors in Shakespeare plays have to wear particular costumes, we do too. We rely on props to play our roles and to convey particular images associated with those roles. So I always give this example because it's true. When I first moved here, I had this little Honda Civic. It's a Honda Civic, which is little, relatively little. And it was our only car, and I loved it. It was red, it was small, it was cute, it was fine, it was functional. I could care less about cars. But eventually, I had to get into an argument with my husband, who could not have that little red Honda Civic be his prop in the business world, because he was driving around clients, sometimes 6'3" clients who couldn't even fit in the front seat, and this was not working for him as his prop in his role as a successful businessman. Hence, he got his Passat or whatever. I said, can't be fancy car, it has to be medium car. So he has his Passat, which fits more, or is a prop that he thought fit more of his role. Okay, when you go to somebody's house and you want to impress this person, you worry about the wine you're bringing. Is this a good wine? Is this a bad wine? Or they think that I'm cultured and sophisticated and know my wine if I bring this one versus that one? Those are props that I'm using to convey a certain kind of image to my host. Okay, all different examples of props. The earrings you're wearing, the things, the kind of purse you carry. Okay, women out there, you know what I'm talking about. The kinds of purse, the kinds of shoes you wear, labels, those things, they signal to people certain things, certain kind of roles and images that you want to convey. These are all examples of props that we use and think about every day in our plays. Okay, this is what a lot of people know Goffman's work for. There are scripts that you have to follow in a play. Okay, and it's understood that we're all supposed to follow it. It's not improv. Okay, there's a script. You're supposed to follow it. We're agreeing implicitly that we're all going to follow the script. There are those kinds of scripts in our everyday social interactions. Remember schema, scripts. There are certain rules of engagement that we're supposed to follow. And one of those rules of engagement, which Goffman is very much known for, this phrase, you've all heard the phrase saving face, right? It's one of the biggest rules, the broadest rules, according to Goffman, is that we're all trying to engage in social interactions in a way that saves face. That is, in a way that ensures smooth, not awkward interactions with other people. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to go off script. Let's have smooth, harmonious interactions. And that is why, in that service, that is why we often save other people's face. You have been in a situation where a friend or an acquaintance is totally exaggerating their accomplishments. And you're about to vomit and rolling your eyes, you're going to lose your eyes because you're rolling them so high. But do you call him out on it in front of everyone? You so did not run that fast. You so did not. No, you don't do that because that's embarrassing. That is not the implicit, socially agreed upon script. You don't do that. It's not going to make for a good, harmonious interaction to call that person out. You save face instead, and other people save your face. Okay, to Goffman, that's part of or similar to actors adhering to their scripts. Okay, we have certain scripts, many different kinds that we follow as well. Okay, I think I have one or two. Oh yeah, so we respect each other's roles. We even save face, that is, we let people get away with public presentations, even if we think they don't reflect who they truly are. Yeah, Alex.
Does that count as me dressed down? Like actually, just say I'm like actually, there's somebody here, maybe they have their own business, they make lots of money, but actually dress down to be the part of the would not be the same saving face, even though it's like opposite.
Well, whose face are they saving?
Well, it's kind of everybody's actually, because if I rolled up here and like say Lamborghini pulled up, walked in here in my suit, I mean my fellow students obviously would be super, like even you as a professor, you feel weird.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sitting here.
Yeah, it could be. It could be saving face, but it could be for yourself too. It could just be you don't want to feel uncomfortable. Yeah, you don't want to stand out. So that wouldn't be saving other people's face. It could be multiply motivated. But you could, like, you don't want to, like if you're the only one that got into a certain fraternity or sorority that all of your friends got into, you're not going to go flaunting, a sweatshirt by that sorority, and that's for the sake of other people. That's kindness, and yeah, it's some version of saving face. Yeah, but it's also just being nice. And yeah, but it's socially appropriate. Why would you rock the boat and do otherwise? Okay. Okay. In a section, there's many different kinds of self-presentational strategies that are just so obvious. I can't bear to talk about them in here in lecture, like ingratiation. You try to ingratiate yourself with other people. But one of these strategies is very interesting because a lot of the examples come from student context, and it's something called self-handicapping, where we come up with excuses for ourselves. We set up barriers for ourselves, real or fake, to give us an excuse should we fail. Oh, I didn't get to study at all for this exam. Okay? People say all the time, oh man, I was out too late. Oh my God, I should have drank so much last night. Exams this morning. True or not? But this helps you should you do poorly, you've got an excuse ready. You can explore this nifty little self-presentational strategy people use more in section. Okay? I'll see you guys on Monday. And you can look for exam things after noon today.